So this show is quite a departure for both of you. Can you tell me a little bit about what attracted you to Motive?
You want to take? I always defer to Kristin first because it's really her thing. So I'll let her.
It's really not my thing. It is an ensemble cast, but I will answer.
Okay.
I really loved the character of Angie Flynn. I think that the premise of our show, the why done it, where the audience knows who the killer and victim are right off the top, is really compelling. But what I loved was the fact that in this complex idea of murder and killing and mistakes and humanity and failures and all that kind of stuff, there's humor. Yeah. And that to me is what I thought was most interesting. To be able to kind of be messy and funny and also complex was interesting.
You know, Lauren, we didn't see much of you in the first episode. You know, I kind of had to like watch it twice. Was she even there? So is that gonna? Are you gonna expand on that?
Or, you know? More of an impression.
Yeah, I thought it was like I thought it was like Motive, and then you know how they do that featuring Lauren Holly. I figured that was it a featuring thing? Are we gonna see more of you?
No. The thing is that's about it. Yeah. Every episode. I do my 2 days. Yeah. And I commute from Toronto, which is part of it. Mm-hmm. And that's sort of what I signed on to do, I guess. But it's like a perfect little spice, I think. Yeah. In the show. I don't know. I think it sort of rounds it out a bit.
I think in the pilot, because we're trying to service so many things to give to people right off the bat, that in fact, in subsequent episodes, there's much more of you, actually. I think the pilot has less of you, and then the rest of them are more. Because actually her character delivers crucial information every time that helps us go
navigate.
Exactly, yeah.
There are so many procedurals on, you know, CSI, Without a Trace used to be on. How is Motive going to sort of separate itself? Is it what you were talking about before with the twist of knowing who the killer is and then sort of seeing how it happens?
Well, that's a device that's not really, hasn't been used. You know, I was thinking, what is similar? I guess maybe something like Columbo, because we sort of knew who did it, but we didn't know both sides. And knowing both is really interesting. And even so, the surprises aren't gone. Yeah. Which is another great part of our show. You know who did it, and but you don't know why how the paths cross,
or how they made the decision.
Exactly. And it seems like we still provide surprises because the audience will make assumptions that will be incorrect.
Right.
I also kind of feel like, at least from my perspective, and maybe I feel this way because I'm on the inside of it, but the shows you just mentioned take themselves pretty seriously.
Yes.
And I don't think we take ourselves seriously. I think it's not that we don't. You know, we're not committed to what we're doing. I just think there's much more breathing space in our show. So it's less, look how maverick and cool we are, and more we're just telling the story in a great way.
Our characters are all much more real.
Yeah.
Nobody is a superhero.
Yeah.
Do you ever notice that?
Yes, totally,
like, you know,
how do you figure that out? Like on Homeland, how does he know where he is?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or, you know, they can hear through walls and are incredibly adept at solving puzzles. Yeah. You know, it's like craziness. So.
And I also think they all are also kind of, you know, that the shows are packaged to be quite slick and really rely on lots of visual impact. Our show is visually beautiful, but our budget is like a quarter of what those shows are. So it's just got a much more real feel to it.
And I also find, and this is just things that you both are saying are like making me realize things, but if a show like NCIS, they're very proud of the fact that there's, you know, 350 edits per show or something. That's quick, back and forth, back and forth. I find it slightly disturbing. Yeah. You know, from an actor's point of view, there's no real scenes that you play. Everything is quick and short. Or other shows that I think about, everybody has the same cadence. They all talk incredibly fast with amazing vocabularies and just like rapid fire. And whereas the shows that I am the most enthralled with or have the most respect for, all the characters are very different. And I think our show is like that. So, you know.
Are we going to see more of that storytelling element where it's sort of like flashback, present, present? And is that sort of like the formula for the show?
Well, it's, I would say that's a formula, but it's also a visual device. So one of the things that the way they're telling that story, and something that I think that we do really successfully is we use transitions into each flashback. And that for sure happens. That's the way you're delivered in and out of the present.
And some of them are
flashback.
so cool.
Yeah, like the sheet. I remember the sheet in the first episode.
Yeah.
I like the one in the first episode. I love it when the kids are going into the house.
Yes. Yes.
Right? Like that's really good at the beginning. Then all of a sudden it's the crime scene.
Yeah.
It's cool.
It's there's some really, in future episodes too, there's some really good ones.
You know, I've talked to so many actors, and they always tell me that it's both a pro and a con to be typecast, you know, because on the one hand, if you're typecast, you have a steady series, you know what you're doing the next day, but on the other hand, then you're remembered for that character. How important is versatility? Because I feel like this is such a departure. Like, when I heard Lauren Holly was on it, I'm like, oh my god, I love Dumb and Dumber. She's playing a foreigner, are you kidding me? So how important is sort of like a difference of material in what you do?
I've done that my whole career.
Yeah.
You know, I've jumped around from comedy to drama, from television to film, and my favorite thing is when I remind people certain movies they didn't realize. They were like, oh my gosh, they're always like surprised. That's right, you were in that, you know, because I like to think of myself as a character.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to be the leading lady.
You'll leave that to her.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I feel like there's a couple things. I think at some point, at a certain time, if you're a journeyman actor and you've made your living at it, A, you're extremely lucky. B, when you get to a certain point and you're mature enough, you realize this is my skill set.
Yeah.
It's actually how I feed my family. It's also how I have a fulfilling creative life, but mostly I pay my taxes, I cultivate the life I want, I take care of my family. So the fact is, after a certain age, which I think is a byproduct of when you're younger, you're wanting to see what your options are, and so you fight against being typecast. And then a certain time comes along and you think, you know what, if this is what I'm going to continue doing, and I've chosen to be an actor, then so be it, this is what I'm going to do. I think both of us have avoided that, insofar as we have had the luxury of choosing work that resonates with us, but I don't know that as a woman you can ever get away from the archetypes that you're asked to carry, which is be sexy, be hot, look a certain way, you know, that part is what people are going to project onto you, but
even though I know that I could play an 85-year-old.
That's right, exactly. I mean, yeah, no, seriously. We can do it, it's just whether we're asked to do it or not.
And CTV obviously has a lot of faith in this series. It's airing right after the Super Bowl. It was just picked up by ABC. But for the casual viewer, like, why should they watch this show?
I think they're going to be able to relate to it.
Yeah, I just think it's one of those shows that sort of grab you and you get into it. You know it's going to be a satisfying story or a whodunit, you know, and you know, what's that, like, water cooler talk? Yeah. Like, people will talk about, you know, what happened that week or funny things about the characters. Or
I think it's visually really satisfying. It's on at a great time. Sunday nights doesn't have a lot of fantastic TV. There's nothing else like it on Canadian television at all. I think our show looks great, and I think that we work hard to give characters that are a full meal.
Is the murder only the beginning?
The motive is just the beginning.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.